Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the main event. You're here once again with me, Daniel.
And Aaron.
And there's just us two on today, Aaron. We're lonely birds.
Two's a party.
Three's a crowd. How did your game week go?
I felt it went all right. It was definitely better than the week before. So finished with 70 points. But it seemed that what let me down was the Man City and Chelsea clean sheets. A lot of people around me in the table had them. So they got 70 plus. So even though it was a good score, still red arrows all around, unfortunately. But I'm still managing to hang in there with everybody. It's weird how crazy downhill I've been over the last few rounds, because when game week 6 started, I was like 3,000. So I was doing really, really well. Then over the round of 16, went down to 8,000. Sad. But like in terms of the game week, I am happy with how it went, and I feel like my transfers all did well. So can't complain too much with this 70 score, to be fair.
With your players, who were your bangers and who were your flops?
Most of my people got like additional points on top of their appearance. So my strikers, Lewandowski, Ronaldo, Haaland, they got 22, with Haaland getting half of that by himself. Salah was my captain. I stuck with him after he scored and got the clean sheet for there as well. So he got 18. Tyler Adams 4, Cuadrado 5, Gundogan 9, then Kimmich 8, 3.8. Mori got 3 points. Cannot complain with that. But Savic got me -1, so lost me 3 points from Gosens. And Benu, I just kept him in because I didn't want Reina against Bayern Munich again. So
yeah.
And then all in all, just got Koeman and Koundé on my bench, so they got 0 as well.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with my point score of 78. When we consider the disaster that is my defence, my 3 defenders turned out to be Koundé, who got 0 on the first night. He had to stay in. That's how bad it was. Kimmich with 8 and Gosens with 2. The reason why my defence is so bad, obviously, Courtois with a -1 earlier on in the week and Angelino injured, and I didn't want to take a -4. If I was to take a -4, I think I put in the group chat, my 3 options were Hummels, Cancelo or Diaz. So if I'd went with one of the Man City boys, I would have got a net positive. But if I went with Hummels, I think he got less than 4. So I would have actually been on a minus there. So overall, I can't complain. Really, I'll just take the 0 and it is what it is. Goalkeeper-wise, I had Szczesny for 2 points, took him out for Oblak's 2 points after he conceded in the final minute of the Chelsea game. Midfield, Goretzka 5 points, won the penalty, but got a yellow card, annoyingly. Gundogan with 9 points, Nkunku with 3, Chiesa with 11, transferred him in. So happy that all my transfers, including Haaland there, all got returns. Haaland captain 22 points, En-Nesyri with 10, and Lewandowski with 6. That puts me in a bit of a stalemate from what I was talking about on the last podcast, to be honest with you, Aaron, where I'm back to 11,288, which is pretty much through all the circles I'd been where I was, because I'd dropped after the Tuesday night to 14,000 again, and then back up to 11. So it seems to be the same pot of numbers I'm at. I'm 202 in England, and in our league, stayed exactly where I am at 32, apparently. AC Ahmad Hamd is still top of the crop with 624 points. But Treno FC, Pablo Cartagena with 89 points, has caught up to him by 3, and there's only 12 points separating those at the top of our league. So best luck to both of you guys. Let's jump in with the games, Aaron. We'll start with how the fantasy app lists the games. So that is with Real Madrid 3, Atalanta 1. How did you feel after this one, Aaron?
Well, after the game, I felt kind of annoyed because Atalanta could do so much better. This is the game that I watched. I kind of was just hoping that Atalanta would do something. and I just kind of felt deflated afterwards. It didn't. It's not for a lack of trying, just the quality in the end just kind of let them down compared to Real Madrid's quality, where even though Real Madrid are not at their best, they have the better players and the better experience at this stage in the competition, and that really showed.
Game was won in midfield. Real Madrid's midfielders were just so much better than Atalanta's, and it was an incredibly frustrating watch. Within a couple of minutes, Gosens could have been a hero with a goal, but just couldn't quite get enough weight behind his, I'll call it a shot, but it was kind of aimlessly throw his body in front of the ball kind of effort, straight to Courtois. There were a number of players that really let the side down that night for Atalanta, but also I feel like the manager really dropped the ball. We'll watch the first half. It's playing out. It's quite an evenly matched game. Both teams, lots of energy. Real Madrid pressing quite a bit. Atalanta were quite happy to sit off and try and hit them on the counter. But one thing that we both agreed with in our chat, objectively, was that Pasalic was having a really good game. I mean, he at one point tried to end Valverde's career by skinning him 3 times with one dribble. But that Malinovsky was so poor. Every time in the transition, gave the ball away, constantly made the wrong decision, poor technical ability. He was not up to scratch at all. And we were all so disappointed with him. And then at half-time, Gasperini brings off Pasalic and leaves on Malinovsky. And then to add insult to injury, I think it's Robbie Savage was the commentator, and I don't mind Robbie Savage. Like, he's annoying with his opinions about Steve Bruce, but I've listened to all of Savage Flintoff and the Ping Pong Guy podcasts, and I really, really enjoyed them. So I've got a nice bit of sympathy for Robbie Savage. But he said Malinovsky was Atlanta's best player, and I couldn't quite believe it. How bad must the rest of them been if he was their best player? He was also the one that gave the ball away for Real Madrid's penalty. So I'm not entirely sure what was being watched there, but Gasperini dropped the ball by leaving him on the field. How did it make you feel, Aaron? Because I know that you obviously wanted Atalanta to win, and you weren't overly impressed with Malinovsky's performance either.
No, just time and time again, it's kind of like the tempo just wasn't there. You have to overturn the deficit. Especially with Atalanta, they're not going to hold Real Madrid out for a clean sheet. So they had to go into this game expecting to score at a minimum 2. And when he would get into the final third, if he seemed to just stand over the ball and wait for the pass, but like rather than just like a quick release, taking a punt, putting the Real Madrid back 4 under pressure, or back 3, sorry. And it just was disappointing that the pace and the attacking flair that you normally associate with Atalanta, that he slowed it down. And he's normally not a starter. It wasn't until Papu Gomez had left in January that he's starting to get more minutes, but that was just because Pasalic and Ilicic are coming back to full fitness. So I was quite surprised that he was even starting in this game. I've been a fan of him in the past as a super sub, but I think it showed that, like kind of what you were saying before, Dan, that it was one in midfield, and Valverde and Kroos and Modric were able to just have his number, really, and he didn't put the defense in a lot of uncomfortable situations. It was mostly coming from the left side.
What did you make of the penalty incident?
Yeah, I mean, fantastic dribble by Vinicius. He did that most of the game. Was managing to get past the midfield and put the back 3 of Atalanta under pressure. I think that, yes, it was a penalty contact, but it took me a few watches to realize when the contact was made, because it was almost like Toloi did like a scissor kick. I mean, not like a full-on like Di Canio, but he put his foot out once to try and get the ball, didn't get it, so put his foot back, but then the other foot almost like in the cartoons where they come to the end of a cliff and one of them at the back doesn't get the message and then they all fall off. Like that foot is trail and leg just continued to go forward, and that's when the contact was made. So yeah, it was a penalty, but I don't like the contact was made, but I don't know even if Vinicius had control of the ball at that point. I think he was just sprinting too fast, but I think the penalty was right to be given.
Yeah, when I first saw it, the contact was outside the box, but then he made a secondary contact, which was inside the box. And if there's any contact that can be perceived as a foul inside the box, then it would be given as a penalty. They're the rules. So obviously, I didn't want it to be a penalty, but it was. Can't say anything else. I can't believe Atalanta, for how good they are, have so many bad players.
Mm-hmm.
And their goalkeeping situation is no exception. They must have the worst two goalkeepers as a pair. If you combine the goalkeepers as a pair, the worst two in the competition. Lazio's are probably pretty close, but I mean, at least we can say Reina's come to the end of his career. But Sportiello is not a starting goalkeeper for a Champions League team. And it's not just from his clearance. He's not been good for a long time. We mentioned him last season that he was a real weak link in Atalanta's defensive setup. And he essentially cost them the game. His first error, giving the ball to Modric for the Benzema goal, but then also his positioning for the last goal was amateurish. He didn't take a step out towards the ball to narrow the angle. He was nowhere near the ball, even though it went in at the near post. So it was just really frustrating to watch as a neutral, let alone as an Atalanta fan.
Yeah, Sportiello, Cameron has went on about this for the past few review shows when he's been on, that if you can't, why play out from the back if you don't normally? And Sportiello, I mean, there's so many goalkeepers that try to now play out from the back with obviously the new like attacking possession based system that a lot of teams try and play now. But it just shows that a lot of these goalkeepers aren't capable of it, because through their whole academy days and stuff, they've not had that drilled into them. I think it maybe in like 10 years time, when it's a new crop of goalkeepers, you'll see that the majority of goalkeepers are comfortable playing with the ball at their feet because they've learned pretty early on. That's just my opinion, but Sportiello, what a pass to Modric, first of all. But Modric, with that kind of control, the ball flying at him, takes all of the defenders out the game just with his control, and it was unbelievable. And you already knew that when Modric had went into the box, it was either going to be a penalty, but then you saw Benzema by himself, and you just knew what you didn't even have to watch. You already knew what the outcome was going to be. And Benzema is just one of them players where he'll capitalize on any mistake that you make. He's such a great striker, and I've seen a lot of posts lately, and a lot of fans on social media. So obviously not the best source, but also some of the pundits as well, saying that Benzema doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And I wouldn't say that he doesn't get credit, but I would say he still has had a fantastic career, and I'd still say he's regarded as one of the best strikers in the game. I don't know what they're kind of comparing him to be underappreciated. Was he outside people's top 10? Or was he just not as big as Ronaldo? I don't know what they're comparing him to, because I felt like he's always matched his expectation. I don't know how you feel about that, Dan.
With Benzema, he had a bad couple of years. Really, I mean, there was one season he was absolutely rotten, and it looked like he was on his way out. Also, he was very much in Ronaldo's shadow. Got a lot of assists for Ronaldo, but since Ronaldo's left, he's came out of his shell again, and he's became the goal scorer that I think everyone knew he was. But there was definitely a period of time where his form, A, hugely dipped, and then B, he kind of just played a bit averagely in it. I think it took him a little while to get his confidence back up and to feel like a Real Madrid player again. And now he does. And he's a great, great striker for Real Madrid. I think he's one of the best strikers in the world. But that wasn't said when Ronaldo was there, because ultimately he wasn't. He was always in Ronaldo's shadow, and he played that way. So I get it. But in terms of underappreciated, I think you're right in what you say. He is as appreciated as he should be. When he was playing badly, he was given stick. When he played averagely, he was considered average, and now he's playing well, he's considered to be good.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the nuance of the situation is, yeah, he's been treated appropriately.
Yeah, and I think it's just because not that I expect them to, but I don't think maybe people study the top goal scorer chart. So what I think happened was he scored, and then the commentator said, "Oh yeah, that's his 70th goal in Champions League, like the top scorer chart. So he's now
Yeah.
5th in the all-time scorer chart, 1 behind Raul and
Unbelievable that.
3 behind Lewandowski." And I think that just caught a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah.
That I think that's all it was, really. And not that I'm expecting them to study the top 20 goal scorer chart, because that rarely changes. Like, you're not going to have someone creep up on you and score 10 goals in a game. But I think that's all it was, really. It's just that they're like, oh, wow, like I didn't expect him to be that high. And I don't blame them, to be fair. It's just kind of, a lot of the pundits don't watch La Liga all the time. And yeah, Benzema's in 5th in the all-time scorer charts. So well played for him. He deserves the success that he's had in his career, other than his controversial international stuff that we won't get into.
Yeah. And overall, Real Madrid thoroughly deserves to go through. I was very impressed with them. Again, they can be weak in whatever areas. Their midfielders are just, when combined, on another level. They are ridiculous. Luka Modric doesn't play like he's getting up to Pirlo's age. So fair play to him. They've obviously got Liverpool in the next round, so that'll be a really interesting game to follow. I think it's probably going to be the hardest one out of them all to predict. It's absolutely 50-50 as far as I'm concerned. Two oddball teams with an unbelievable history. But we will jump on to the next game, which was Manchester City 2, Borussia Mönchengladbach 0. An absolute corker from Kevin De Bruyne opened things up, and then a lovely work goal for Gundogan to place with a striker's instinct into the bottom corner. And after that, the game was completely dead. It was an absolute no-show from either team. Man City just knocked the ball around with complete ease, and Mönchengladbach would have thrown in a towel if it was a boxing match. Did you see much of this one, Aaron?
I'd seen the highlights of the first half during halftime of the Real Madrid game, and that's really all I needed to see, really.
Yeah.
I think if people were flicking between the two channels, if they managed to time it right, watch the first half of Man City and then switched it over and saw 3 goals from the Real Madrid game. But Man City are just a machine right now. Just like, you just know, I mean, you always knew what to expect from them, that they'll play possession type football, but they're just so defensively solid now, which is easing a lot of pressure on the strikers. Well, actually, they're not even playing with a striker. What am I saying? But you've seen a lot of players rise to the occasion a lot more. Gundogan, we always rated on this podcast, and we always said that he's one of the most trusted midfielders, even if FPL didn't say so.
Yeah.
But we were saying that he literally starts every Champions League game. And to do that with Pep, you've got to be trusted by him. And then Gundogan signed his new contract, and it caught a lot of people off guard that were like, he's hardly playing and he's just signed a contract for 4 years. Like, is he just going to play in the cups, or like, what's he got? And I remember saying on the podcast, it must just be that he plays in every Champions League game. But he's come back. He's in absolutely unbelievable form right now. He's the top scorer for the team this season, 15 goals in all competitions. And Foden as well. Interestingly, when I was looking at the points and kind of looking who I want to transfer in for the next round, Foden has played every Champions League game so far, and that caught me off guard. I didn't expect him to keep playing in the Champions League, but his work rate in the midfield for Gundogan's goal was unbelievable, and you can see why he keeps getting played in these type of games.
On the app, there is a goal of the week feature, and I think there were 2 outstanding candidates. So I'll put the question to you. KDB or Lionel Messi for goal of the round?
Oh, I would say, I might just be recency biased, but I'm going to say De Bruyne's because it was his weak foot.
I've voted for De Bruyne. In terms of distance, there was only 4 meters between them. I know De Bruyne's looked a lot closer than Messi's when you watch them by the eye, but there's actually only 4 meters between where they shot on the goal because he was a little wider. Always looks nice when it's in off the bar, but yeah, the fact that it was his weaker foot makes all the difference. All the difference. It's absolutely crazy. Love this goal. I don't think there's much else to say about this game because it was, you're right, it's mechanical, it's methodical machinery, this Man City team. The strength and depth of their squad means that they don't have the same issues as other teams, and the players that they have are phenomenal, and Pep's system is working an absolute treat with the players that he has. He seems to have worked out that he can't quite get an exact replica for David Silva, so he's kind of trying to play 2 players in that position to do that one job, and it's working phenomenally well, arguably better than one David Silva would work. So fair play to Pep for figuring that out and changing the system so that it suited what he has. But we'll get on to the next game, which was an incredible victory for Chelsea, 2-0 versus Atletico Madrid. I stuck my neck on the line, despite the fact on all these pods saying that how weak the La Liga teams were and that Chelsea would go through. I saw Atletico Madrid starting lineup and thought, they're back to full strength. This is exactly the way they want to play, and I think they could nick a result here. That being said, Carrasco wasn't fully fit. Trippier hadn't played in how many months, and I made the same mistake as Ronald Koeman did for that Barcelona versus PSG game. They weren't quite ready, and fair play to Chelsea for coming up with the goods when it was needed. Excellent defensively for the most part, except for a little error by Cesar Azpilicueta. Aaron, let's start with that because it was the first incident of the game. Was that a penalty for you?
When I first saw it, I thought it was a penalty. The arm, he basically was giving him a hug, and I don't know whether it just wasn't enough of a grab of the shirt or whether he wasn't visibly seen pulling him back, or it was just very confusing because I've seen less than that be given. So on the kind of the basis that what I had seen in the previous rounds and stuff like that, I would have said yes, but then my mind went back to the Ronaldo against Porto in the last minute. And it was kind of like a similar thing, not like exactly identical, but it was similar in the fact that the person went down, but he wasn't really in control of the ball when he went down and kind of just went down as a see what I can get type of thing. So if we're going off, yeah, the Ronaldo penalty wasn't a penalty, then I don't think this one was either. But I have seen a lot less be given, and so it's really hard to say to judge. But that's my answer, if that made any sense.
On the fence. Love it, on the fence. Yeah, with this, I looked at it and thought, whoa, that's a pen. VAR see that. And rightly or wrongly, I think VAR should have told the ref to have a look at it. Now, when they tell a ref to look at it, I think the dialogue's really important. So it could be a case of, look, his arms came across. We want you to have a look at it to see if he's pulled the shirt. Is the player going to get the ball, and is this worthy of a penalty? This is entirely your decision, but we're not sure if you've seen it, but there is an arm come across, and we just want you to have a look at it. Then the referee can go in peace, have a look at it, and make his decision. I think that's something that needs to happen consistently. Mm-hmm. That being said, looking at the replay, I don't think it's a penalty at all. And this is the problem. We'll all go, oh, we've seen a penalty given for less. But 2 wrongs don't make it right.
Yeah.
And we all preach about how soft the game's getting, and yet are up in arms when penalties aren't given out of, I don't know, some weird sense of fairness. It's either a penalty or it's not a penalty. Says Azpilicueta puts his arm across Carrasco. Watch the replay. He does not pull on his shirt. He puts his arm across him and then removes his arm, but he doesn't clinch his hand. He doesn't pull the shirt. Yannick Carrasco dives. It should be a yellow card. But like you said anyway, Aaron, he wasn't getting the ball. And there's a reason why he went down. He's one-on-one with the keeper. And the player, looking at this, hasn't pulled him down. So why did he go down? Because he knew he was never getting control of that ball. It's a dive and it should be a yellow card. And I thought that the referee for the Bayern versus Lazio game was absolutely fantastic. This one, we need to start giving yellow cards again for people diving. It just seems to have gone from the game and everyone's diving. And now it's making the referee's job more difficult. If you want to go down and the referee's going to look at it, he's got 3 decisions. It's fair contact and going down is reasonable. For example, Ronaldo getting kicked, never a dive, but we can see why it wasn't a penalty. Contacting it is a penalty. Or you have dived and now you are getting a yellow card. Because people are just chancing the wrong. They go, oh, well, I can dive and it might go to VAR and the referee might see something. I might manipulate a certain law here, get away with it. And it's quite frankly ruining the game. Mm-hmm. I don't mind if someone goes down when they could stay on their feet. We saw Phil Foden in the Premier League go down and then get back up and nothing was given. Like, I don't mind if like you've received contact and you want to go down, because that's the only way we're going to get a penalty, because the referees are terrible at their jobs. But this wasn't even anything. He touched his stomach with the palm of his hand very gently. And then he's went down. It's a dive and it should be a yellow card. Chelsea then score the most Atletico Madrid goal possible with a break down the left wing and a ball put into the box for a tap-in for Hakim Ziyech. Really, really good goal. Werner has a lot of assists, so he's doing something right. Obviously, I think he's having a bit of a lack of confidence in front of goal, and I don't think he's the most naturally gifted finisher anyway. At Leipzig, he had a lot of chances to score his goals. I remember when he was younger playing for Germany, he didn't look like an international player, because international players may only get 1 or 2 chances and they need to put them away. It's not a club level where you might get 4 or 5 or 6 in a game. You had Savic in this game. How did that make you feel, Aaron? What did he make of the incident?
The incident, well, he's initiated that elbow. He was trying to get an advantage. The thing that frustrates me the most is that, and I didn't realize the game did this because I'd never received a red card before, when the goal went in after Savic was sent off, it still deducted the goal, 2 goals getting scored against him, because I mean, it makes sense because he should have still been on the field. But that's the part that frustrated me the most, was that he was on 0 and I was like, oh, I'll settle with that. And then Emerson scored and then it went down to -1. And that's the part that frustrated me. But I did think it was just cheap. And I was expecting more ball recoveries. It was a bit frustrating. I was expecting more.
I don't think it's the right game. It's not the right game because Chelsea play a defensive setup. They're not in a position to force Madrid defenders to make ball recoveries.
Yeah.
Did you think it was a red card?
I did, yes. At first I didn't. I was like, obviously that's just because I've got Savic in my team. At first I was like, no way that's a red card. Come on, are you being serious? Hardly anything in that. And then you see the replay and it's just a cheap little elbow in the gut.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference when you're like trying to fight for your position, but when you're leading with the elbow, it's different. It's a different story. And it looked like it was intentional from the replays. So yeah, I agree with the decision.
I wasn't happy at the time and I wanted it not to be a red because I wanted Chelsea to go through, but I knew so many people around me in the same situation you are, Aaron, that had Chelsea defenders. I just want Atletico Madrid to score 1-1, Chelsea go through, perfect. And that not only killed the chances of them getting a goal back, but like you say, exposed them at the back to concede another goal when I had Oblak. So it wasn't a decision I wanted. Looking back on it, I can totally see why it was given. It's very soft. It's not in the face or anything. But ultimately, this is karma because Atletico Madrid have been doing this for years and years and years. Diego Simeone is famous for this sort of stuff. And to see Rudiger go down, make a complete disgraceful meal out of it, and then laughing their players, I've got a lot of time for that, considering the opposition. I was like, this is perfect. Absolutely perfect. I know I said earlier on, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but sometimes, let's be honest, it can't be satisfying. Even though it was to my detriment.
I thought it was satisfying when Rudiger did it with Suarez as well, when they both went off behind the goal and Suarez was trying to pick up the ball, but as he was getting up, Rudiger kicked the ball away. So Suarez started squaring up to Rudiger, and Rudiger just starts laughing.
Try to bite him.
So I was just like, get in, Rudiger.
Proper shithousery, but it's missing from the game. And when it's your team doing it, it's so good. Chelsea have been lacking a player like that for a very long time. I think Ricardo Carvalho was the last one of the players in that sort of mould. And I think it's really important to have a player like that, especially when you're going up against a team that will use every trick in the book. Ultimately, Chelsea, fair play, you've gone through. I think they will love their side of the draw. I think it quite literally couldn't have went any better. We'll move on to the last game, though, which was Bayern Munich versus Lazio. Another game that I jinxed by saying that Bayern would batter Lazio, so I do apologise. It's all my fault. It was going as expected. Bayern going 2-0 up. The first one, I got no idea what the defender was doing in the box. Shocking decision. Absolute 100% penalty. Lewandowski with no mistake from the spot. And then it sort of killed the game. There wasn't much happening at either end, really. Like, both teams threatened to do something, but Lazio couldn't get any momentum, and then also stopped all of Bayern's momentum by giving away constant fouls. Lots of yellow cards for Lazio. Eric Choupo-Moting popping up with another goal is still absolutely hilarious. I'll never get over it. But it was a really good finish. Lovely bowling by not our favourite person, David Alaba, knocking around in centre midfield. One thing that annoyed me about the commentary for this game, they were discussing David Alaba, and it's just the most basic lazy commentary in the world. They get paid like thousands of pounds. We do this for free, Aaron, and have a clear understanding of this Alaba situation. Jermaine Genius getting asked by the co-commentator, like, oh, why would you want to leave Bayern? He's like, oh, well, I mean, I imagine it's just, he wants a new challenge. Like, even when you played for a club like Bayern for so long, when you've achieved all that he's achieved at 28, you need that new challenge. And I'm like, I'm sure you are right in that, Jermaine. You've totally guessed. But if you read, you might see that it's because he wants 400,000 euros a week and wants to not play as a centre-back. He's asked specifically to play in his Austrian position in midfield, and Hansi Flick is not going to give that to him. So he's decided at the age of 28, for the final part of his career, he's won everything he can win. He wants to play in a position that is going to afford him the most fun and at a club where he can get the biggest contract, because this is going to be his last big contract. Mm-hmm. Literally just read about it, mate.
That means you're asking them to do work.
Stealing a living. Absolutely stealing a living, this lot. It does my head in.
Just one last thought on that, because I don't want to talk about Genius I don't want to give him any time on the podcast, but it's just frustrating that these pundits are now, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it used to be great when you had like specific Sky Sports pundits and you had specific BBC pundits and stuff like that. I feel like they're just everywhere now. I don't know about you, but I just think it's frustrating because it means they're getting paid more money and they're doing less quality research because they're having to cover so many games.
Absolutely.
They seem to be on every channel, and it's kind of like I forgot the specific word, and you might be able to correct me, but it's like skilled at many but expert at none, or something like that, like master of none.
Oh, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah. So like, because they cover so many games within a week, it's impossible for them to do the research that they need for the club that they support, Because, I mean, that's the reason they'll get invited onto Sky, is it's impossible for them to do the research that they need for their club and then to do as much as they need for two teams that they just don't watch at all. They just look at the table and go, oh yeah, that's pretty good research. Like, they seem to be doing well. Like, I remembered watching them last year. They're exactly the same team, really. It's just laziness. I don't like it. I think they should go back to having one station per pundit, but that's just me.
Well, I think it's just a case of have someone on that knows about the club. Like, you have a person like Gary Lineker on BBC and BT as the host of the show, essentially, or you've got Jake Humphries. And because they're asking the questions, they only need a basic knowledge of football. I appreciate Gary Lineker's knowledge of football is incredible. And he is one of the most underrated great strikers ever. He's fantastic. But his analysis of teams doesn't need to be great because he's just there to ask questions and chip in. When you've got a Bayern Munich game, why don't you have Owen Hargreaves, a player that came through Bayern Munich's youth system, played for Bayern Munich, played for Manchester United, won multiple Champions Leagues. He knows about the club. There are players that you can get on that are ex-Premier League players. This is obviously for BT mainly. I think Premier League you can half get away with it because you're watching all the games and it's fine. Like, you can sit and watch all the games. But you can't watch leagues worth of... You can't watch every league. I don't understand how Jermaine Genius is meant to give an expert analysis on what's occurring between a German team and an Italian team if he doesn't watch either of those leagues, doesn't understand the players, the formation, what's going on, the history, this sort of thing. And then he's borderline forced to give this just blanket, boring, benign commentary that isn't insightful at all.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he can do his own research because I'll be honest with you, Aaron. Like, I don't watch Serie A. I watch a bit of the Bundesliga, but I don't watch Serie A. I'll leave that up to you. When we come on, I'll either there's questions that I want to ask you because I know that you know the answer, and I only watch a little bit of Bundesliga, but I can tell you from reading why David Alaba wants to move, and we are doing this because we love it and because, like, we don't get paid a penny. If anything, it's cost us money doing this. It's cost us time, and we can still make more of an effort than people that are paid extortionate amounts of money to be lazy.
Exactly.
And I'm just getting bored of it, and it's frustrating.
I think it is just because there's not many people in England that watch BT that actually know anything about these leagues either, so they get away with it. And I think that's all it is as well.
Do you want to talk about Lazio's goal?
Yeah, I thought it was, well worked, good set piece. I think Parolo, he's got a lot of experience, and he knew that Milinkovic-Savic wasn't going to get to the ball, but I think everything about that set piece was intended to go to Milinkovic-Savic, and I think it was just a little bit of thinking on his feet for Parolo, or thinking with his head, really. Took advantage of the situation that Milinkovic-Savic wasn't there, and he anticipated where the ball would be, and that he was like, right, if Milinkovic-Savic isn't going to be there, I'm going to be here to make sure that I can at least get a shot. I think they made the best of a bad situation. I thought, from Lazio's point of view, that this game was finished. Immobile on the bench for the entire game. Like, lots of starters rested. I think they just kind of conceded the tie. We all knew that it would have took an absolute miracle for them to come back. I think less than a 1% chance of them coming back. But I think the game showed that they are, especially with their substitutions as well, taking off most of their starters and just kind of giving minutes to the majority of the team. They knew the tie was over, and I think their gameplay showed. It was just nice, kind of like what the commentator was saying. They got to leave the Allianz Arena with like a consolation, something to remember the experience. As the commentator said, I'm like, well, they're not on holiday. It's not like a kids team. Like, oh yeah, we scored. Yeah, let's talk about it let's put it in our top 10 moments of our life. Bayern Munich aren't the best defensively, but
it's very patronizing.
Yeah, but it still is nice that they were able to leave with a goal. And by that point as well, Bayern Munich had taken off their starters as well, like Kimmich, Goretzka, Muller, Lewandowski, Boateng, were all substituted off.
Last thing, we give referee stick. I want to just end this game by saying I thought the referee was absolutely fantastic for this game. I thought he made a lot of great decisions. He was brave, he was decisive, and he was booking players for diving, which I hugely appreciate. And if we're going to, complain about referees, I think it's massively important that we say well done to one that did such a good job. I thought he managed the game amazingly well. So I just want to sort of leave on a bit of a positive note for refs after we batter them. It was the pundits' turn today. But Aaron, we did our live reaction to the Champions League draw yesterday. Very confusing from UEFA because there's no set dates on it. We sort of were asking the question at the time, is it whoever gets drawn out first plays first? And I was looking all of yesterday to try and figure out where are these teams in the sort of fixture schedule? What are the times of each day? Do you have an update on that?
Yeah, so what I said originally with the whoever plays on the Tuesday the first week will play on the Wednesday the next. So Man City assets are probably better for that at the time. The fixtures have now come out. 6th of April is the first legs of the quarterfinal, and it's Real Madrid Liverpool has been moved to the Tuesday, with Porto Chelsea moving to the Wednesday. So on the Tuesday, Real Madrid versus Liverpool, Man City versus Dortmund, and then the next day, Bayern Munich versus Paris Saint-Germain, Porto versus Chelsea. So the headache for the Porto Chelsea defense that we were worried about, that hasn't been solved. Yeah, that didn't get solved with this fixture move. But in terms of attacking assets for Real Madrid Liverpool, I feel like it's made up for it. But there's only so many premium assets that we can have because we were pretty much banking on going for Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain assets and Man City, Dortmund. It's hard to fit in Liverpool, Real Madrid ones as well. Basically, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain players, if you're going for that tactic of playing on the first day, some of them are going to have to get sacrificed in order to get some Liverpool players or Real Madrid players if you want them. But it's a bit of a headache, mostly for the Porto Chelsea game for you wildcarding, Dan. And I'm guessing I'm going to have to wildcard as well. I got the notification that 11 players got eliminated for me. So we'll both be wildcarding.
Absolutely. I've already pressed the button. I pressed the button and been messing around. The only reason I think they've moved this has got to be for money. Because they didn't want Bayern, PSG and Real Madrid, Liverpool, who are I think out of that lot, the four most financially viable teams in terms of like media coverage, to play on the same day. That must be it. Obviously, I know that Man City are arguably the richest club in the world. But that obviously doesn't, filter down into media coverage and how many millions of fans they've got around the world. Like even Manchester United are still bigger on the commercial aspect of things. Real Madrid and Liverpool are two of the biggest clubs in the world. And yeah, Bayern and PSG are as well. So money talks, moving it around. I don't like that at all. I think there should be a set date. This is this game. And then you pull the teams out of the hat. That surely has to be it. It can't be manipulated like this. It's terrible.
And I would have thought that when the games were first moved around, that it would have been whoever was playing each other in the semi-final. But no, Liverpool, Real Madrid, and Porto, Chelsea are playing on different days. It just doesn't make sense. Vice versa for the other one. It's not even who's drawn in the semi-final. So it is what you're saying. It's all about viewership, trying to make sure that people from all over the world, they're pretty much going to push Real Madrid, Liverpool, and then Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain on the next day. Unfortunately for Man City, Dortmund, and Porto, Chelsea, it doesn't have the same pull worldwide.
I totally agree as well. I thought that if you are going to change it for the brackets, for who's going to play who, because that makes more sense that both teams, especially for like the second leg, if there's anything to be decided, you kind of want it to be a case of you're not quite sure who you're going to play next. Whereas, it's Porto, Chelsea versus Real Madrid, Liverpool in the next round. By the time the Porto, Chelsea second leg game kicks off, they know who they're going to play against. It might not make that much of a difference, but could be an edge.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is as well, like the leagues like to, especially for the French Ligue 1, and I believe the Portuguese league do this as well. They manipulate the fixtures so that these teams in the Champions League play on the Friday. So Paris Saint-Germain going into that first leg, their games are probably going to get moved to the Friday because that's what's happened in the past. They play on the Friday before the Champions League game. Bayern Munich, depending on their television schedule, they could have like an early fixture on a Saturday. But with the Premier League and the financial pull that they have, they are unable to have their fixtures moved around. So it's kind of a disadvantage to the Premier League teams. I know they've got funding, if you want to use that argument, that, oh yeah, they get more money than us and stuff like that. It's just all about, you kind of want a level playing field. You want these teams to have both played on the same time the weekend before, to both have full strength teams, just so that you can enjoy the game the best you can, knowing that these teams are at their best.
Yeah. This is entertainment, ultimately. It's entertainment for everyone. And we want to create the perfect environment to see as much entertainment as possible. And that is having strong teams play against each other. But that's enough of our negging. Aaron, thanks for jumping on again today. Thanks everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at UCL Fantasy Pod, and we are on YouTube, Spotify, all the other podcast sites as well. Give us a like, a subscribe, a review. It really, really helps. And we will see you next time for the preview show. Bye now.